Planned Parenthood Votes New Mexico is a critical champion lifting up the voices of candidates to ensure that reproductive and sexual health care is accessible to anyone throughout the state. The speed with which this federal administration has made true on its promises can feel incredibly burdensome. And then I look up and I think, here we are in New Mexico, where we have the first DACA recipient to sit in the roundhouse, where we have a female majority legislation thinking about bills that improve the lives of families across the state. It brings me tremendous hope to know that whatever comes in the next 4 years here in New Mexico, we are led by and rooted in generations of supporters and people who care about the future of this state.
I feel like being born and raised in New Mexico is maybe one of the most fortunate blessings, for lack of a better word, that I have in this lifetime. I was born and raised in Albuquerque's North Valley amongst the cottonwood trees, which I think really gave me my love of nature, but also I think a unique outlook on the issues that New Mexicans across the state face.
I was born in Albuquerque, but I grew up in Edgewood, which was very small when I moved out there when I was like 7. So I had a more rural upbringing. I went to Moriarty High School.
I grew up in the North Valley of Albuquerque, then south area of Santa Fe. I grew up being undocumented for over 20 years of my life. I saw my parents being taken advantage of. I saw wage theft. I saw them being sick and not being able to do the things that they needed to do.
A lot of the issues that our families are facing, the poverty, homelessness, and substance abuse, behavioral health, lack of access to health care. There's so much that drives me to want to be in office.
At our state levels, we can still really make concrete impacts on people's lives. Just seeing the amazing work that you can do at the state level really inspired me to step up and run. Planned Parenthood has such a great reputation of being a supporter of champions, the champion that I want to be. Having the endorsement was definitely helpful for campaigning. I remember when I was door knocking, I did talk to a young woman who was like, "You have the Planned Parenthood endorsement, so I'm just going to vote for you. Like, you don't need to waste your time talking to me."
It was a really tough primary. And when you're in a race like that, the people and the organizations that vouch for you and go to bat for you really make a difference. Planned Parenthood Votes was clearly one of those organizations. For me, what really made a difference was them believing in my lived experience. And that's not something that's always honored. I know it helps me see the people of New Mexico. And what I really appreciated about Planned Parenthood Votes is that they saw that in me as well.
Running for office and running as a young woman, as a woman of color, as all these things that I'm branded as, right? It was extremely important for me to have this endorsement, not only because of who I am, what I believe in, but because I know our communities need it. We are very lucky to be in a state like New Mexico, where we have protections in place, where we have a government that's supporting reproductive justice.
We've seen the transformative way that electing young voices and younger women to office can support all New Mexicans.
We've worked for a really long time to get here. And so for me, what this says for the future of New Mexico is that we're ready to work.
As one of the 2 youngest members of the state Senate, I think it's a responsibility to uplift the voices of young women. I think it's a responsibility of uplifting the voices of communities of color that have not sat at those tables ever. It's responsibility and accountability to the notion that representation needs to be present beyond election time, and it needs to be a commitment to our communities.
Right now, in this critical moment in history, all of us that are living and working in New Mexico have a promise to keep for the rest of the country. It's our responsibility to ensure that abortion care, that care for transgender patients, that other forms of reproductive and sexual health care are available not only locally here, but for people traveling from across the country. Every dollar given to Planned Parenthood Votes New Mexico ensure that we're able to endorse candidates that win. They allow us to mobilize supporters across the state and to craft legislation and policy that expand healthcare for everyone. We know one thing is certain, and that is that we are only an election away from New Mexico turning into Texas. The weight of this moment is completely on our shoulders, on the shoulders of our supporters, of our donors. That act of philanthropy, the act of political giving, is a wonderful place of power. People give because they know that they're making a difference, and that energy gets us to the election and beyond.